Most people, when they find out about betrayal, would explode. They would shout. They would break things. They would confront. They would make a big scene. I am not like most people. I watch. I listen. I plan. I move very quietly. But before we get to that, do us one quick favor. Subscribe. A lot of people watch without ever doing it, but it costs you nothing and it means everything to us. Hit the like button while you're at it and drop your thoughts in the comments after listening. My name is Harold, and this is the story of how I quietly took back control from a wife who thought I was too oblivious to notice her lies. My life used to be simple. I woke up early. I made coffee. I made breakfast for the kids, Jacob and Lily. They were 10 and 7. My wife, Olivia, usually rushed. She worked at a big marketing firm. She was good at her job, or so I thought. I worked from home doing freelance graphic design. It gave me flexibility. I could pick up the kids from school. I could cook dinner. I handled most of the house stuff. It let Olivia focus on her career. I liked it that way. I liked being the rock for my family. Things started to shift slowly, like a boat drifting away from the dock. You don't notice it right away, not until the gap is too wide to jump. Olivia started working later. First it was once a week, then twice, then almost every night. She said it was a big project, a new client, high stakes. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. "I'll be home late tonight, Harold," she would say. Her voice sounded tired. "Okay, honey, I'll handle dinner and the kids," I'd reply, always understanding. She would leave early in the morning. She would come home late at night. Sometimes I was already asleep. Sometimes I would hear her come in. The soft click of the door, the rustle of her coat, the quiet footsteps down the hall. Then came the smell. It was subtle at first. A faint hint of something not quite hers, not my cologne, not anything I recognized from our bathroom. It was a man's scent, sharp, a little spicy. I remember the first time I really noticed it. She came home. It was almost midnight. I was still up. I was reading a book in the living room. She walked past me. The smell hit me. It clung to her sweater. "Rough night?" I asked. I tried to keep my voice light. "Beyond rough, Harold. Marcus is a slave driver," she said. She gave a tired smile. She went straight to bed. I sat there. The smell lingered in the air. Marcus, that was her boss. He was a new guy. Came in about 6 months ago, very aggressive, very charismatic. I had met him once at a company picnic. He was smooth, too smooth. I didn't like him then. The smell became a regular thing. Every time she worked late, it was there. Sometimes strong, sometimes faint. It was like a ghost in our house, a constant reminder. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe her office smelled like his cologne. Maybe he used a lot of it. Maybe it rubbed off on her from leaning too close during a meeting. My mind tried to make excuses, but deep down I knew. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Then came the phone, her phone. It began to buzz at odd hours, not during the day, not in the early evening, mostly very late, after Jacob and Lily were asleep. After Olivia had supposedly settled down for the night, she would grab it quickly, turn away from me, her thumb flying across the screen, her face too soft, too focused, a little smile playing on her lips, a smile I rarely saw directed at me anymore. One night it was particularly late, around 2 a.m. The house was absolutely silent. I was pretending to sleep. My eyes were closed. I could hear Olivia breathing next to me. Then her phone buzzed. It vibrated on the nightstand. She reached for it in the dark. Her movements were quick, careful, too careful. I heard the soft click of the screen turning on. I heard her tap a few times. I heard her sigh. It sounded like a happy sigh, a sigh of relief or of pleasure. I opened my eyes just a crack. She was half turned away from me. The light from the screen lit up her face. I saw her thumb moving. I saw the text. The first word was clear. Babe. My heart froze. It turned to ice. It sank down to my feet. All the doubts, all the smells, all the late nights. They crashed down on me. It wasn't just a work thing. It was personal. It was a betrayal. Right there in our bed, next to me, my wife, my Olivia, messaging someone else, calling them babe. At 2 a.m. I closed my eyes again. I kept my breathing even. I didn't move. I didn't make a sound. She put the phone back down. She rolled over. Her breathing went back to normal, but nothing was normal for me anymore. My world had just shattered, quietly, in the dark. I lay awake for the rest of the night. My mind raced. What do I do? Yell, scream, confront her, demand answers. That's what most people would do. That's what the movies show. But I am not that person. I think, I plan, I strategize. I knew I couldn't act on emotion. Not yet. I needed proof. Solid proof. Things that couldn't be denied. Things that couldn't be explained away. The next morning I woke up feeling empty. I went through the motions. I made pancakes for the kids. Jacob wanted extra syrup. Lily talked about her school play. Olivia came down. She looked well rested, too well rested. She smiled at me. It felt fake, like a mask. "Morning, Harold," she said. She kissed my cheek. It felt cold. "Morning, Olivia," I replied. My voice was calm, steady. No tremor, no hint of the storm raging inside me. This quiet part of me was strong. It had always been there. It allowed me to observe, to not react, to act when the time was right. I spent the next few days in a haze. I worked, I cooked, I cleaned, I played with the kids. Everything felt dull, muted. I watched Olivia. Her eyes were brighter now. Her phone was always close. She smiled at it often. She was still coming home late. The smell of his cologne was still there. It filled me with quiet rage, a slow burn. I decided I needed help, professional help, not for my feelings, for my plan. I sat down at my computer. I opened an incognito window. I searched for private investigator. I looked at a few websites. I read reviews. I looked for someone discreet, someone who didn't advertise loudly. I found a man named Peterson. His website was plain, professional. It listed his experience, former police, now specializing in corporate and infidelity cases. Perfect. I called his number. It rang twice. A deep voice answered. "Peterson Investigations, how can I help you?" "Mr. Peterson, my name is Harold. I need to talk to you about a personal matter." "Very sensitive," I said. My voice was steady. "Can you meet tomorrow, my office, 3 o'clock, he asked. No questions, just a time. "Yes, thank you," I said. We hung up. The next day I dressed carefully. A plain shirt, dark pants, nothing flashy. I told Olivia I had a client meeting. She just nodded. She was on her phone. I drove to Peterson's office. It was in an older building downtown, the kind with a slightly sticky elevator. His office was small, clean, a desk, 2 chairs, a few framed certificates on the wall. Peterson was a man in his late 50s, graying hair, tired eyes, but they were sharp. They missed nothing. I sat down. He offered me coffee. I declined. I got straight to it. "My wife Olivia, she works at Sterling Marketing. Her boss is Marcus. I believe she is having an affair with him." Peterson nodded slowly. He had a notepad. He wrote something down. "What makes you believe this?" I laid it all out. The late nights, the cologne, the phone buzzing at 2 a.m., the babe text. My calm voice surprised even me. It was like I was talking about a stranger. "I need proof, Mr. Peterson. Undeniable proof, photos, dates, times, everything." He looked at me. "This kind of work costs money, Mr. Harold, and it takes time." "I understand. What's your retainer?" I asked. "For surveillance, digital forensics, and a comprehensive report, I usually ask for $5,000 up front to cover 8 weeks of work. If it goes longer, we can discuss," he said. $5,000. It was a chunk of money, but I had it. I had been saving for years, for retirement, for a rainy day. This was a hurricane. "That's fine," I said. "I can pay you today." He outlined the process. He would start surveillance immediately. He would track Olivia's movements, her meetings, her late nights. He would look into her phone if possible, but that was harder legally. He would compile everything. "I want a detailed report. Everything you find," I repeated. "You'll get it, Mr. Harold," he said. "Complete discretion. You won't hear from me unless absolutely necessary, or when I have the report ready." I paid him with a cashier's check I had brought. I drove home. The quiet resolve deepened inside me. The waiting began. 8 weeks. It felt like an eternity. I had to live a normal life. Pretend, smile, cook, care for my kids, all while knowing this secret, all while waiting for the truth to be laid bare. The next 8 weeks were a blur of routine and internal turmoil. Olivia continued her late nights. The cologne smell continued. The phone buzzed. She was vibrant, almost giddy sometimes. She talked about work with a new excitement. I would nod. I would listen. I would offer her a glass of wine. My acting skills were improving every day. One evening, Jacob, my son, said something. We were eating dinner. Olivia was predictably late. "Mommy is always at the office now," he said, pushing his peas around. Lily, my daughter, piped up. "Yeah, she plays with Marcus." I almost dropped my fork. My heart pounded. "What do you mean, sweetie?" I asked Lily, trying to sound casual. "She laughs with him on the phone a lot," Lily said. "And one time I saw them. In the car when you picked us up from school, they were laughing in her car." My hands clenched under the table. They saw them, my own children. That meant Olivia was getting sloppy, or she just didn't care. It confirmed everything. I felt a cold anger building, but I kept my face blank. I gave them more juice. I changed the subject. Peterson called me once subtly. He just said, "Everything is proceeding as planned, no issues." That was it. No details, just enough to let me know he was working. The days blurred into weeks. Each day felt heavy. I went to bed early most nights, even though my mind was wide awake. I thought about Olivia, about Marcus, about what I would do. My revenge would not be loud, it would be precise. It would dismantle her life piece by piece, just like she had dismantled mine. Then the call came, exactly 8 weeks later. "Mr. Harold, the report is ready. You can pick it up tomorrow, same time," Peterson said. His voice was flat, professional. "Thank you," I said. My voice was calm. But inside, a hammer was hitting my chest. The moment of truth. I drove back to Peterson's office. This time I knew what to expect. The elevator was still sticky. Peterson was waiting. He had a large, plain brown box on his desk. It was tied with twine. 400 pages, Mr. Harold, 8 weeks. Everything you asked for. He pushed the box towards me. It looked heavy. It felt heavy, like a tombstone. "Thank you, Mr. Peterson," I said. I picked it up. My hands were steady. "My bill will be sent to your email," he added. "Good luck, Mr. Harold." I just nodded. I left the office. I didn't open it right away. I couldn't. I drove home. I put the box in my office closet. I went about my evening, cooked dinner, helped kids with homework, read them a story. Olivia came home late. I smelled the cologne. I looked at her. Her eyes were bright. She looked happy. I felt nothing but a deep, cold ache. After everyone was asleep, I went to my office. I closed the door. I pulled the box out. I untied the twine. I lifted the lid. Inside there were stacks of papers, photos, digital files on a USB stick. I took a deep breath. I started to read. The first page was a summary. Dates, locations, names, Marcus, Olivia. It detailed their movements, late dinners, hotel check-ins in nearby towns, company credit card charges, times she left the office not to come home but to meet him, photos. There were so many photos. Olivia smiling, laughing, holding hands, kissing him, walking into hotels, walking out of hotels, her hair messed up, his shirt wrinkled, the proof I needed, and more. I read for hours. I went through all 400 pages. Each page was a new stab, each photo a fresh wound. It wasn't just a fling. It was an ongoing, serious affair. It had been happening for months, longer than I had even suspected. It started even before Marcus became her direct boss. It started when he was just another manager in the company. The report detailed how their professional relationship had turned romantic, how they used company time, company resources, and company events to further their affair. There were even notes about how Marcus had given Olivia preferential treatment, pushed her projects forward, even though other employees were more qualified. This wasn't just personal betrayal. It was professional misconduct. I should have felt furious, I should have screamed, but I felt a strange calm, a cold, hard resolve. The pain was there, it was deep, but it was overshadowed by a clear path forward. I had everything, all the evidence I needed. Now it was time to deploy it. What Olivia didn't know was that I wasn't just Harold, the quiet graphic designer, the stay-at-home dad. I had a deeper connection to her company. Years ago, my grandfather had been an early investor in sterling marketing. He believed in the company. He taught me a lot about investing. When he passed, He left me a significant portfolio of stocks. Among them were a large block of sterling marketing shares. It wasn't enough to be a controlling stake, but it was substantial. I had held on to them. I had grown them. I had placed them in a blind trust years ago. It was a strategy for long-term growth. To protect the investment, my wife knew I invested, but she had no idea of the scale. She certainly didn't know I owned 34% of her company's stock. It was my secret, my quiet power, something I had never needed to use, until now. The next morning, I called my lawyer. His name was Mr. Jennings. He handled my trust. He also handled my grandfather's estate. He was a very discreet man. Mr. Jennings, I need to discuss a very urgent matter, and I need to activate my shares in sterling marketing, I said. There was a pause on the other end. Harold, your sterling shares, you've never wanted to touch those. What's happened? It's complicated. I've uncovered some significant issues within the company. Issues involving ethics, professional conduct, and senior management, I explained. I kept my voice even. I also need to discuss divorce proceedings. I see, he said. His voice was now serious. Can you come in this afternoon? Bring everything you have. I spent the morning getting everything organized. I made copies of key pages from Peterson's report. I summarized the key findings. I put the USB stick with all the digital files in an envelope. I also gathered all my financial documents related to the blind trust. I made sure my will was updated. I made sure the kid's future was secured, no matter what happened to Olivia. I drove to Mr. Jennings's office. It was grander than Peterson's, dark wood, leather chairs. His secretary offered me water. I went into his office. He shook my hand. He looked at me with concern. Harold, talk to me, he said. I pulled out the copies of the report. I put them on his desk. This is a private investigator's report. It details an affair between my wife, Olivia, and her boss, Marcus. It also documents professional misconduct, misuse of company resources, favoritism. It's extensive. Mr. Jennings picked up a photo. Olivia laughing, holding Marcus's hand. His face hardened. He looked through a few more pages. He saw the dates, the locations, the hotel receipts. This is damning, Harold, for your divorce and for the company. Yes, that's why I need to activate my shares. I want to attend the next board meeting. I want to address the board as a major shareholder. He looked up surprised. You want to reveal yourself to the board, to Olivia? Yes, it's time they knew who I am. And what's been happening? He leaned back in his chair. He rubbed his chin. This is a big move, Harold. It could shake the company. It will certainly shake your wife. That's the point, I said. My voice was quiet, but there was no mistaking the steel in it. Okay, first, we need to formally notify the company of your beneficial ownership through the trust. It's all legal. It's all above board, but the timing will be impactful. I'll draft the letters. I'll make sure you are on the agenda for the next board meeting. When is it? Tomorrow morning. I checked the company's public calendar. They have a quarterly strategy meeting scheduled. Mr. Jennings raised his eyebrows. Tomorrow? That's short notice, but we can make it happen. You are a significant shareholder. They have to acknowledge you. He started typing on his computer. He made calls. He worked quickly. I sat there. I watched him. I felt a sense of purpose, a quiet satisfaction. For too long, I had been the invisible man, the quiet husband, the underestimated one. Not anymore. I went home. Olivia was there early for once. She was on the phone, laughing. I knew who it was, Marcus. Harold, you're back early, she said, quickly ending the call. Her smile was a little too bright. Client meeting ran long, I lied easily. I walked past her. I went to my office. I closed the door. She didn't question it. She never did. That night I didn't sleep much. I felt a nervous energy, not fear, not regret, just anticipation. The climax of my long, quiet plan was upon me. I ironed my best suit. I polished my shoes. I rehearsed what I would say, not a speech, just facts, clear, concise, damning. The morning arrived. I woke up before anyone. The house was still dark. I showered. I shaved carefully. I put on my suit. I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was calm. My eyes were serious. I looked like a man about to go to war, a quiet war. I made breakfast for Jacob and Lily. Olivia came down. She was dressed in a smart business suit, ready for her big board meeting. She looked confident, unaware. "Morning, Harold," she said. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. "Big day for me, board meeting. Marcus is presenting his new strategy. Could be a huge win." "That's good, Olivia," I said. "Good luck." My voice was as neutral as ever. She grabbed her briefcase. She rushed out the door. She didn't look back. She didn't know where I was going. Not really. I dropped the kids off at school. I gave them extra long hugs. "Be good today," I told them. "Dad has a busy day." Then I drove to the Sterling Marketing Building. It was a sleek, modern tower. I had been there before for company events, but this time was different. I wasn't just a spouse. I was an owner. I parked my car. I walked into the lobby. It was bustling, people walking with purpose. I took the elevator up to the executive floor. My heart was steady. I felt a strange mix of sorrow and resolve. This was the end of my marriage, the end of Olivia's comfortable deception. I entered the reception area for the boardrooms. The secretary recognized me. She knew me as Olivia's husband. Her eyes widened a little. "Mr. Harold, what are you doing here?" she asked, surprised. "I have a meeting," I said simply, "with the board." She looked at her schedule. Then her eyes went wide. She saw my name listed, not as a guest, but as an attendee, as a major stakeholder. Her jaw dropped. She led me to the main boardroom. The doors were closed. She knocked. A voice from inside said, "Come in." She opened the door. I walked in. The room was large. A long, polished wooden table dominated it. About 10 people were seated around it. My wife, Olivia, was there. She was sitting next to Marcus. They were deep in conversation. They looked up when I entered. Olivia's face went from casual interest to utter shock. Her eyes widened. Her mouth slightly opened. Marcus looked confused. He recognized me. He probably thought I was lost. The other board members, mostly older men and women, looked at me with varying degrees of surprise. They knew me vaguely as Olivia's husband, but I had never been to a board meeting. Never. "Harold, what are you doing here?" Olivia blurted out. Her voice was sharp, disbelief. I didn't answer her. I walked to an empty chair at the far end of the table. Mr. Jennings was already there. He had arranged for a chair for me. He gave me a small, reassuring nod. I sat down. I placed my briefcase on the floor next to me. The chairman, an older gentleman named Mr. Davies, cleared his throat. He looked at me, then at Mr. Jennings, then at Olivia. He looked uncomfortable. "Good morning, everyone," Mr. Davies said. "Thank you for attending this quarterly board meeting. We have a rather unexpected but important first item on our agenda today." He looked directly at me. "As per legal notification received this morning, we need to formally acknowledge the active participation of Mr. Harold as a significant shareholder in Sterling Marketing. Mr. Harold, through a blind trust, holds 34% of the company's outstanding stock." A stunned silence fell over the room. You could hear a pin drop. Olivia's face drained of all color. Her mouth hung open. She looked from Mr. Davies to me, then back again. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. She didn't just look shocked. She looked utterly betrayed and confused. Marcus looked equally stunned. He exchanged a quick, nervous glance with Olivia. 34%, someone whispered. "A blind trust," another asked. Mr. Davies continued. "Mr. Harold has been a silent partner, so to speak, for many years. His family has been invested in Sterling Marketing since its inception. He has chosen to make his ownership public and participate in today's proceedings." I looked at Olivia. Her eyes were fixed on me. They were unreadable at first. Then slowly understanding began to dawn in them. The quiet husband, the one who stayed home, the one who seemed to have no ambition. He owned a third of her company. Her entire world was tilting. "What is this, Harold?" she finally whispered. Her voice was hoarse. I met her gaze. My voice was calm and steady. "It's exactly as Mr. Davies said, Olivia. My shares, my company." The words hung in the air. The other board members were whispering frantically. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear under the table. Mr. Davies cleared his throat again. Now, Mr. Harold has also indicated he has some pressing concerns to bring to the board's attention. Concerns regarding corporate ethics, professional misconduct, and the conduct of senior management, specifically involving Ms. Olivia and Mr. Marcus. The whispers died down completely. The room was deathly quiet again. Olivia gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Marcus's eyes were wide with panic. I reached into my briefcase. I pulled out a neat stack of papers. It was the summarized report from Peterson. I also had the USB stick. I have prepared a brief summary for each of you, I said. My voice was clear. I spoke slowly. It details an 8-week investigation into certain activities involving Ms. Olivia and Mr. Marcus. Activities that are, in my opinion, a clear violation of company policy and a gross breach of professional and personal ethics. Mr. Jennings passed around the summaries. Each board member took one. Their faces were grim as they began to read. I watched Olivia's face as the chairman read the first sentence from the summary. The first item details a blatant affair between Ms. Olivia and Mr. Marcus occurring on company time using company resources. Olivia started to shake her head. "No, Harold, you can't," she cried. Her voice was desperate. "This is a lie. It's a personal matter." I held up a hand. It stopped being a personal matter, Olivia, when it involved hotel rooms paid for on company expense accounts, when it involved late nights in the office, recorded as work but used for other purposes, when it involved preferential treatment for you over other qualified employees, all documented in this report. I saw Marcus trying to shrink in his seat. He looked absolutely terrified. The board members read on. Their faces were a mix of shock and anger. They were seeing the dates, the times, the locations. Some of them looked up straight at Olivia, then at Marcus. "There are also photographs," I continued very calmly, "on this USB drive, should you wish to see the visual evidence of what has transpired." Mr. Davies took the USB stick from me. He inserted it into the laptop at the head of the table. He clicked a few times. Images flashed onto the large screen at the front of the room. Photos of Olivia and Marcus dining together, laughing, kissing in front of hotels, entering hotels, leaving them, all with timestamps, all undeniable. Olivia let out a small, choked sob. Her face was bright red, then white. She turned to Marcus. He wouldn't look at her. He wouldn't look at anyone. He just stared straight ahead, his hands clenched under the table. "This is completely unacceptable," Mr. Davies said, his voice cold. "Mr. Marcus, Ms. Olivia, these images, this report. What do you have to say?" Marcus finally looked up. His face was pale. I deny. These are out of context," he stammered. His voice was weak. "Out of context?" I asked, my voice still quiet. "Are the hotel receipts out of context, Marcus? Are the 2 a.m. texts starting with babe out of context, Olivia? Are the comments from my own children, seeing you two together, out of context?" Olivia finally broke. She pushed her chair back, scraping it loudly on the floor. Her face was a mess of tears and mascara. "Harold, please, we can talk about this, not here." "There's nothing to talk about, Olivia," I said. My voice was firm. "The time for talking was months ago, when you started this, when you kept lying, when you disrespected me, our children, our home, and this company." I looked at the board members. "This goes beyond personal betrayal. This is a direct threat to the integrity of Sterling Marketing, to its ethics, to its reputation. Mr. Marcus, as a senior executive, has grossly misused his position. Ms. Olivia has been complicit. This affects shareholder value. This affects employee morale. This affects everything we stand for." The board members started talking amongst themselves. Their voices were low, urgent. Mr. Davies listened for a moment. Then he raised his voice. "Silence, please," he commanded. "This is clearly a serious matter. Mr. Marcus, Ms. Olivia, effective immediately, you are both suspended pending a full internal investigation. Your company keys and devices will be collected at the end of this meeting. Your access to company systems will be revoked." Marcus stood up abruptly. "You can't do this," he shouted. "This is not fair. This is a personal vendetta. It became a corporate issue, Mr. Marcus, the moment you involved company resources and violated established codes of conduct," Mr. Davies said, his voice like ice. "Mr. Harold is a major shareholder. His concerns are valid, his evidence is compelling, and his right to demand accountability is absolute." Olivia was sobbing openly now. Her shoulders shook. She looked at me. Her eyes were full of a raw, desperate pain. The pain of her world crashing down. The pain of being exposed. By the quiet man she thought she had outsmarted. I didn't flinch. I just looked back at her. My face was still calm. My eyes were clear. This was just the beginning. The company, her career, her reputation. All of it was now in question. And our marriage, that was over. This meeting was just the first step in dismantling it all. My revenge was quiet, but it was thorough. If this story resonated with you, join our channel by liking and subscribing for more real, raw, and family-centered stories. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.